Have you ever had to work under the leadership of someone undeserving? Someone who not only lacked honesty but also manipulated, blamed others, and created a toxic environment for their team? This is the story that my colleague and I went through with our boss. However, what happens when, at last, the truth is revealed after our patience ran thin? This story is a journey from deadlock to liberation you can't imagine. When my colleague and I first started working with our boss, John, things seemed fine at first. He was a person with power, and we believed we were being led by someone capable and professional. However, over time, we began noticing odd things. John wasn't just lacking transparency, he also constantly tried to control everything around him, especially information. He didn't hesitate to withhold critical information to cover up his mistakes and painted an inaccurate picture of what was really going on. John's dishonesty didn't stop at hiding the truth, it also extended to how he blamed others whenever things didn't go as planned. Whenever an issue arose, John never took responsibility but quickly found ways to blame others, and I and my colleague were always the ones getting criticized. This made us feel pressured and, gradually, we lost trust in John's leadership. A more serious issue was his lack of support for my requests. With ADHD, I had asked HR for some adjustments to work more effectively, but John disregarded these requests. This made me feel not only ignored but also unfairly treated. My mental health struggles were not empathized with, and John belittled them, leading to ongoing stress and fatigue. Additionally, John's manipulation through communication became more apparent. He had a way of speaking ambiguously and manipulatively, making us feel like we always had to try not to make mistakes, but never receiving the recognition we deserved. This attitude made us feel not just powerless, but deceived. We could never have an open conversation with John without fearing that what we said would be distorted or used against us later. All of this created a stifling work environment, one devoid of creativity, where new ideas weren't valued, and individual efforts were never acknowledged. Slowly, my colleague and I realized that despite our best efforts to keep things running smoothly, John's leadership was gradually eroding the spirit and motivation of the whole team. But our patience finally wore thin when John, once again, tried to blame me and my colleague for a mistake he had made. He sent me a vague text about a major mistake he made and then called my colleague, creating a tense situation where he tried to pin the blame on me for informing her about the issue. This was the final straw, and ultimately, my colleague and I decided to report this to upper management. When things became unbearable, my colleague and I decided we could no longer work under John's leadership. His dishonesty and manipulation had gone too far, and we began to feel that we couldn't continue in such a work environment. Although we had tried to maintain professionalism and patience throughout, the pressure of being blamed for mistakes that weren't ours, along with the lack of recognition and support, made us feel trapped in a confined space, unable to breathe. For me, an important part of the job is feeling respected and recognized. Especially when I had requested reasonable accommodations to help me work better due to my ADHD, I expected empathy from both leadership and colleagues. However, John not only ignored these requests but also acted as if they didn't exist. This made me feel like I wasn't important to him. The more I tried, the more I was met with criticism and manipulation, which affected my mental health significantly. The feeling of not being supported made me question whether this job was a place where I could truly develop. My colleague was facing a similar situation. We shared our struggles and realized that John's unfairness was not only harming us but also severely impacting the entire team. His lack of honesty didn't just hurt us, but it also negatively affected the team's overall effectiveness. Our creative ideas were not valued and sometimes were dismissed simply because they didn't align with John's perspective. We no longer felt valued in our work, and the encouragement we sought from leadership never came. Things escalated further one day when John sent me a vague text about a major mistake he made and asked whether I had shared it with my colleague. He didn't clarify why he was asking me this, but I felt like he was trying to create a situation where he could blame me. Shortly after, he called my colleague and tried to blame me for sharing that information with her. Even though we hadn't done anything wrong, John's actions made us feel like we were being pushed into a difficult position. This was the moment we decided enough was enough. We couldn't continue working in such a manipulative and controlling environment. We reported the issue to upper management, hoping that the truth would be heard. And as we were preparing to face any consequences, something unexpected happened. Upper management listened to us. A formal meeting was scheduled, and when everything was said and done, the outcome surprised us. John was fired. After we reported everything to upper management, none of us expected such a quick and decisive outcome. While we felt relieved and hopeful, we also had some anxiety as we entered the formal meeting with management. During the meeting, we didn't just recount the events that had happened, but we also shared the emotions and mental toll caused by John's actions. Each time we talked about how he manipulated and blamed others, it felt like touching an old wound. But we also knew this was our only chance to end it all. The meeting lasted for several hours, with management listening carefully to everything we said. What mattered was that they didn't just listen to us, but they also dug deeper into the context and the impact John's actions had on our work. Throughout the meeting, we provided detailed accounts of the situations where John had manipulated, lied, and made us feel like we were worthless. His mistakes not only harmed us but also affected the effectiveness of the whole team. The feeling of being listened to was truly powerful. For the first time in many months working under John's leadership, we felt like we had a voice. The empathy and understanding from upper management made us feel a distinct difference from how John had treated us. We not only received respect but also felt like we were an important part of the team's development. We no longer had to suffer, and finally, the truth came to light. In the end, the news we received that day truly shocked us. John was fired. It was a swift and unbelievable decision, but also one we felt was completely justified. Management didn't just listen to us but acted immediately to resolve the issue. We no longer had to work under the leadership of someone undeserving. John's firing wasn't just a necessary step for our careers but also a clear sign that upper management truly stood by the employees and ensured a fairer perspective. When we received the news that John was fired, the first feeling I had wasn't glee or joy, but an overwhelming sense of relief. After months of working in a toxic environment, constantly manipulated and blamed, we were finally free from the shadow John had cast. But what satisfied me the most wasn't that he was fired, but that we fought persistently, spoke up, and protected ourselves. Upper management didn't just listen to us but acted to ensure that the struggles we faced wouldn't be ignored. This made me feel incredibly proud. I realized that no matter what challenges work may bring, if we have the courage to stand up and speak the truth, everything can change. This incident was not only a lesson in protecting our rights but also a clear example that good leadership listens and respects employees' contributions, rather than manipulating and overshadowing them. Everything we went through only reaffirmed my belief in the value of respect and fairness in the workplace. After John's departure, the work environment changed significantly. Everyone on the team felt more relieved, and the work atmosphere became more positive. We no longer had to fear being manipulated or blamed for mistakes that weren't ours. Instead, everyone could contribute ideas, share perspectives, and work with a sense of freedom and trust in fairness. This is the kind of environment we need to maximize our abilities and creativity in protecting victims' rights. I can't help but think about the feeling of being listened to throughout this process. For so long under John's leadership, we felt invisible, and our contributions were never truly valued. But when the situation reached its peak, and we decided to report it, management truly listened and understood the issue. They didn't just act decisively but also created a new working environment, one built on fairness and respect. This made me feel incredibly grateful and further confirmed that I made the right decision to fight. Since then, I feel so excited about the future of the team. We are no longer bound by an undeserving leader. Instead, we can work with renewed trust and enthusiasm, knowing that our efforts will be acknowledged. I believe that with a positive working environment like this, we will achieve even more success in our work of protecting victims' rights. Finally, I realize that each challenge we face helps us grow. Although the road is not easy, with perseverance and determination, we will find a way out and build a better future. And I am so proud to be part of this strong team, a team that never stops fighting for what we deserve.